Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long was 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long was 1975.
Hey YouTube, Long Boys Post 1975, and welcome to something a little bit different. I think we can truly say that about this video. Somewhat of, I guess you could say this is a vlog, somewhat of a nostalgic memories of video, and an unboxing and or overview, if you will, of something of a very, very, very old toy. I think we can truly say in the case of this is truly vintage. I meant to do a video on this because I've had this probably 6 or so weeks, maybe even 2 months, and the reason I haven't done a video on it before now is I could find no information out about this whatsoever. I scoured tinterwebs. That's not to say it's not out there, it's just to say that I couldn't find it. I scoured the tinterwebs and couldn't find any information about this. I tried to find scans from old club catalogue books and things like that. I found a couple of YouTube videos where literally someone makes a comedic video and pretends that this is their actual camera. But what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the Tomytime Snappy Shot, a fun camera for little photographers. This, how cool is that? Do you ever get that moment where you completely and utterly forgot in its entirety something from your childhood, and then 40 or so odd years later, which is the case with this, in fact 42 or so years later, you run into it in the high street, in a charity shop, which is exactly what happened to me. I was down Nelsey, which is great for charity shops in my neck of the woods, and I want to say I was in either a PDSA or a St. Peter's hospice, but that's irrelevant because it all goes to charity. And I literally walked in there, and I always check the toy section out to get stuff for my nieces and things like that, and I saw this on the shelf, and the minute I saw this I had a complete nostalgic flashback to being 4 years old, because this, as far as I can tell, was released in 1979. I would have been 4, and yeah, and I can just remember playing with it, and yeah, the minute I saw this I was like, hell yes, I'm buying that. I was going to say that, well, at the time I said, when I put it on Facebook, I'm buying this for my nieces. No, I'm buying this for me because I have such nostalgia for it. They can play with it if they want, but yeah, this is staying in my collection. So, what did they want for it? They wanted £2. Look at that. She did actually, it's not in the worst condition, it's not in the best condition. It doesn't work. I will be doing an unboxing and showing you it because I don't think there are any on YouTube, so I think it would kind of be cool. But she did actually say to me, because I said, I'm buying this, I had this as a kid, and she did actually say to me, yeah, we had a bunch of stuff like that. They priced it and put it out before I got to it. I would have put it up for something a little bit more, you know, expensive than that, and I'm glad you told me when I was buying it for £2, so you couldn't. Is it worth more than this? I honestly don't know. If you know any information about this, then please let me know, because as far as I can tell, Tomytime was a series of products that were kind of emulated adult products, if that makes sense, for kids to basically make believe with, pretend with. They were learning toys, although you could argue that this really isn't a learning toy. But there was, I want to say there was a record player that my brother had, but I don't know if that was Fisher Price. But there was also a record player, I think, where you had 3 different records, and it worked on basically the same principle that a record player works. You would put an arm on it, but it had 3 needles as far as I can tell, and the grooves in the record, there was a green one, a red one, and a yellow one, and they were like thick set plastic, would, you know, move these needles and stuff like that, and, you know, make a chime. Yeah, that's what I think. Like I said though, that could be Fisher Price, because I blend the two in together when it comes to memories. So this is, you know, this is not to be taken factually accurate or anything like that. Then in the early 80s, they actually had a computer that I think Nostalgia. The Nostalgia Critic did a little kind of silly video on, which was a Tomytime computer, right? And it didn't do anything because these things, you know, they're mechanical, they're not, you know, electronic, especially this is 1979. And you hit anywhere on the keyboard, all the keys would move at once and it would build up a picture on the screen, then it would go to another image and you bang it and it go on and stuff like that. And then there was a typewriter, which, you know, you didn't typewrite on. The keys were divided up into 3 sections, so if you pressed anywhere on the left, all the keys would go down, same for the middle, same for the right. And it would randomly put words on, you know, I forget what it's called, the bit where you go like that, because, you know, typewriters, they're old, man. And yeah, so that, I think that was like, kind of like to teach kids to read and stuff like this. I'm sure there was a whole bunch of products in there, but as a kid, I remember I really wanted this, and it was probably because my parents had a Polaroid camera, and you see your parents, and when you're really young, in this case 4, you want to emulate them. And so I don't know where I saw it, whether it was on an advert on TV, which realistically could have been on a shelf, no, probably not at 4 years old on a shelf in a supermarket, but maybe in the back of a club book, because even when you're really young, you still used to flip through the toys, didn't you, with your brothers like that, and go, I'll have that, I'll have that, I'll have that. Like somehow that would make things, you know, happen. But all I remember is I got it one year, whether it was for my birthday or Christmas, I honestly can't remember. Both my brothers can't remember me having this. But to be fair, if you're watching this, Ian or Jason, I've always had far better memory than both of you, especially when it comes to nostalgia. So yeah, really wanted it and got it. And basically, I definitely think I can remember a commercial for it. I'm pretty sure I can. If you wonder whether there are awkward pauses, I'm thinking as I say this out loud, because I like to do these things off the cuff. But yeah, so I can remember, you know, pretending to be like your parents and taking pictures and stuff like that. Because the thing about these things is, and it's like why I like old board games, is they're incredibly simple, incredibly crude, you know, very few moving parts. But, you know, it's the very late 70s. So you could argue that there's a certain level of ingenuity in these as well. Well, at least I think so, but I am looking at this through rose-tinted memberberry goggles. But I'm going to show you it in a moment when I unbox it and, you know, and put my camera on the tripod. But I just thought I'd show you the box because I love the design aesthetic of this. So, Tomy Time Snappy shots, a fun camera for little photographers. Tomy, and there you can see, obviously like a Polaroid, a picture, a snap coming out the bottom. It rinses and repeats on the side, but it says, well, it says in a foreign language, but it has a different colour picture, indicating that there's more than one of these slides. Then on the back, which you can see them, honestly, the nostalgia coming off this is insane. Well, I'll let you read it. It highlights all the features. And then on the side, oh look, another different colour. Well, they've just given it away with all the slides here, or photos. But it has a little cool trick, which I'll show you in a moment, on how it fakes, you know, making pictures. Basically, they're pictures, and then they kind of, there's nothing on the slides initially, and then they come into being, which as a kid, I can remember just absolutely blew my mind. And then what's interesting is there's a number here on the top, which would have been from a club book catalogue. So I'm assuming that this was probably bought in Argos, and I have no idea how much money this would have cost at the time. But like I said, the box is in absolutely banging nick. So let's get it out of the box and see what it looks like, and hopefully you'll have as much nostalgia from this as I'm gonna get. So let's get this out of the box. In case you're wondering what the paper is, that's markers, because it's, well, it's quite difficult to get this in shot, what with the size of the box. But yeah, the box has seen better days, obviously, but the fact that it's still boxed and it's from 1979 absolutely blows my mind. So, as you can see, there are instructions on it, which is actually really cool. It's got that really old vintage smell about it, and by that I don't mean it's damp, but look at this in all of its glory. That looks absolutely fantastic. The minute I got this out of the box, I could completely and utterly remember, you know, getting hands on with this as a kid. It's got an absolutely fantastic vinyl strap because it's a camera, so why wouldn't it do? It's really solidly built, and obviously I could probably retro bright this and get it sort of back to true colour, but where would the fun in that be? I think it's hanging in there, you know, pretty damn well. Now if you look on the back, obviously we have a viewfinder which itself has seen far better days. It looks like you're looking through a cataracts, but also you can see this hatch here. When I bought this, the lady said, oh, I'm sorry, but none of the photos appear to be in the box, and I still bought it because I still wanted it. And then when I got home, I opened this and it's still hinged, and there you can see all of the pictures, and obviously there's nothing on them because the magic hasn't happened yet. And I'll show you how it works, but it doesn't work good enough now for these to, you know, work that way. So I might run them under a tap so you can at least see one of them, you know, kick in. But this was tech that would have blown your mind as a kid. It really, really was. And this is what I mean about there was an ingenuity, even though this stuff was basic as hell. And then if we turn it around, obviously there's your butts in here. This does nothing but make an absolutely fantastic clicky noise, which would have driven your parents nuts as a kid, but as you know, as a child, it's just so satisfying. It has the name Tomy across the top there because why not? I just realised that there's a picture left. So how many is it? 6. That's not bad. That's pretty good that they all fit in there. So what does the button do? It has an old school flash. Who remembers flash cubes? I remember flash cubes. That was so cool. I wish you could still buy a camera that, or can you even still buy them? Because if you could still buy a camera that you could use them on, I would just use them for old time effect and shits and giggles and nostalgia. But you press this button here and it rotates. And obviously it's got reflective material in there to kind of, you know, give the illusion that a flash is going. And as far as I can tell, it is actually rotating. It's not just moving back and forth. But I could be wrong on that, but yeah. So what's really, really cool with this is, if you lift this up here, and it does come out in its entirety, and it's supposed to come out in its entirety, and then you can see, obviously it says Snappy Shop, just in case you forgot the product that you purchased your 4-year-old child, there's a very, very beaten up piece of foam in there. Now, I think it says it, I don't know if you can see that, that this is what you get wet. So as a kid, don't know if you can read that, but yeah, as a kid you would moisten this and then you would put it back in the camera there. Again, this is what I mean about like just thinking about with such limited tech how you would simulate, emulate, you know, an adult product such as a Polaroid, and then you would stick this in, so it would go in blank, it slots in there. And then obviously, because it's passed on to the, I'm pretty sure you know how this stuff works. Blue Peter used to do like paintings with this stuff all the time. And then I would moisten the picture, and then when you pressed the button, you pull it out, and then, you know, instant fake Polaroid. And every kid in the room was incredibly impressed. I just think, fantastic. And the fact that I completely forgot that I had this. My brother definitely had the record player, whether it was by Tomytime or Fisher Price, I do not know. But yeah, just so cool. So let's take one of these and run it under the tap so you can see what's on it. See that, get an indication of the kind of stuff that was on these, and obviously it's going to be very, very basic cartoon-esque stuff, but think about it as if you were a child. It would have blown your tiny little mind. Now these are beaten to hell, but hopefully, because I know at least one of these, I didn't check beforehand, has enough of an image on there for you to see it. So you can see that it's changing, and like I said, it's beaten to all kinds of hell. Can you see that? There's a very, very faint image coming through. See? So like I said, obviously by today's standards, it's a bit pants, and obviously they're beaten to hell. But as a kid, this shit would have blown your mind. I still can't believe that moistening it with that sponge would have been enough back in the day. There you can see, all the dude of the 70s rocking a banana board. So, I mean, like I said, as a kid, that one's pretty much there actually, kind of cool. So there we have it, the Tomytime Snappy shots. Obviously this thing has definitely seen better days, as have the slides, as you could tell. I mean, you'd probably be beaten up to all kinds of shit if you've been left in someone's attic for the best part of 4 decades. But also, I like to think the fact that they were so beaten up is that a kid had a lot of fun playing with this back in the day. But I simply had to do a video on this because I didn't find any on it on YouTube whatsoever. And also, obviously, I have a nostalgic memories of series of videos and vintage adventures. I'll learn to talk in a minute. It's all the nostalgia. Vintage adventures in the attic, where I take a look at some of my older toys. So yeah, as always, I'd love to know what you think, especially if you had this back in the day, and especially if you could share some light on it when it comes to details and other products in the range. But yeah, as always, I'd love to know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.